Most people who passed the cafe window that snowy morning didn't notice the man sitting alone at the corner table. They didn't see how he kept glancing at the empty chair across from him, as if waiting for someone who would never come. They didn't catch the way his fingers trembled when he lifted his cup, or how he stared into the steam as though it held answers to questions he'd been too afraid to ask. But if anyone had looked closely, they might have noticed something else, the quiet ache of a man who had forgotten what it felt like to be needed. His name was Evan Carter, and he had been coming to this same cafe for months, always choosing the seat by the window. It was the only place where the world moved around him while he stayed still. Outside, the snowfall thickened, wrapping the town in white and softening the sharpness of December. Cars crawled past with their headlights glowing yellow through the haze. People hurried by, shoulders hunched, scarves wrapped tight. Inside, the cafe hummed with warmth, fresh pastries, clinking mugs, low chatter. But Evan felt none of it. Not really. Not since last winter, when life had taken a turn he still had trouble putting into words. He wasn't expecting anyone to disturb the silence he had grown used to. But life, as he was about to learn, doesn't ask before it changes everything. The bell above the cafe door jingled sharply, followed by a gust of cold air that swept in snowflakes and the faint smell of pine. Evan didn't bother looking up at first. People came and went all morning. It didn't concern him. But then he heard a small voice. Soft. Tired. A little shaky. "Mom, my hands hurt." Something about the tone pulled at him. He lifted his gaze. A woman, maybe mid-30s, cheeks flushed from the cold, hair tucked under a worn knit hat, stood near the counter. Snow dotted her coat. Her boots looked soaked through. And beside her was a little boy, maybe 5 or 6, rubbing his hands together and shivering. His nose was red, his lashes stuck with tiny crystals of snow. Evan watched as the woman reached into her purse and winced. Her shoulders drooped, but she tried to smile down at the boy. "We'll get something warm, okay?" she whispered. She took out a few crumpled dollars. Not enough for much. Evan recognized that look, pride mixed with desperation. He'd worn it himself once, in a different season of life. The boy pointed to the menu board. "Can I have hot chocolate, Mom?" Her throat bobbed before she answered. Maybe just a small one." Evan's chest tightened. He didn't know them. He had no reason to care. And yet something inside him stirred, something he had been trying to bury under routine and quiet mornings by the window. He watched her order a single small hot chocolate. No food. Nothing for herself. She smiled and told the boy they would share it. But her eyes told another story. She was exhausted, cold, hungry, and doing her best to pretend she wasn't any of those things. When the cashier handed over the drink, she thanked him softly and turned to look for a place to sit. Most tables were full. Most people looked away. But the little boy's eyes landed on Evan's empty chair. He tugged his mother's sleeve and pointed. "Mom, that one's open." They approached slowly, almost apologetically. Evan straightened slightly as the woman stopped at the edge of his table. "Excuse me," she said gently. "Would it be all right if we sit here? Just until he warms up?" Her voice was polite but hesitant, like she expected him to say no. Evan surprised himself by smiling. A real one, small but warm. "Sure," he said. "Only if you eat too." The woman blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry." Evan nodded toward the counter. "I was about to order something. And it feels wrong not to share on a morning like this." She shook her head quickly. "Oh, no, we're fine." "Really?" The boy looked up at his mother, then at Evan, then back at the tiny cup of hot chocolate they were supposed to share. Evan leaned forward, lowering his voice. "It's just breakfast. No strings. Let me treat you both." The woman swallowed hard, her eyes suddenly glassy. She wasn't used to kindness, not lately, at least. My name's Evan, he added softly. That's all. No pressure. She hesitated. Then, finally, she exhaled. I'm Claire, she said. And this is my son, Noah. Noah gave a small wave, cheeks pink from the heat of the café. Hi, he murmured. Evan felt something shift inside him. Something warm. Something he hadn't felt in a very long time. He stood up, walked to the counter, and ordered 3 breakfasts, pancakes for Noah, eggs and toast for Claire, and his usual oatmeal with berries. When he returned with the plates, Claire's eyes widened. You didn't have to do all this, she whispered. I know, Evan said quietly. But I wanted to. For the first time in months, the chair across from him wasn't empty. And for the first time in a long time, his heart didn't feel empty either. As snowflakes drifted against the window beside them, 3 strangers sat together, warming their hands, warming their spirits, and unknowingly beginning something that would change all their lives forever. Claire took a small bite of toast, almost timidly, as though she wasn't used to eating in front of others. Noah dug into his pancakes with the wide-eyed gratitude only a child could show. Evan watched them, unsure why the sight made something loosen in his chest. Long morning? He asked gently. Claire let out a breath that sounded like it had been waiting all week to escape. Long few months, she admitted. She brushed crumbs from Noah's cheek. I'm sorry. We don't mean to bother you. You're not, Evan said. Trust me. For a moment, Claire studied him, really studied him, as though she sensed the truth he didn't know how to say. The exhaustion behind her eyes mirrored something in his own. Loss recognized loss. Noah sipped his hot chocolate and looked at Evan curiously. Do you come here every day? Most days, Evan said. It's quiet here. Peaceful. Why are you alone? The boy asked innocently. Claire stiffened. Noah. But Evan just gave a soft, sad smile. It's all right. I used to come here with someone. But she passed away last winter. And I guess I never figured out what to do with mornings after that. Claire's lips parted, sympathy flickering across her features. I'm so sorry. Evan shrugged gently. Life keeps moving even when you don't. I'm still learning how to move with it again. Claire nodded slowly, as though she understood more than she said. What about you? Evan asked. If you don't mind sharing. Claire hesitated, then looked down at her hands. I left our home 3 months ago. Noah's father, he wasn't a kind man. I should have left sooner, but leaving with a child is hard. Harder than people think. Evan felt heat rise in his chest, not anger at her, but at the world that had pushed her into such a corner. We've been staying wherever we can, Claire continued. Friends' couches. A shelter last week. I'm working part-time at a laundromat, but it's not enough yet. I'm trying. I just want Noah to feel safe for once. The boy, unaware of the weight his mother carried, swung his legs under the table happily. Evan looked at Claire with quiet admiration. You're doing more than trying. She blinked rapidly, as though no one had said that to her in far too long. A few moments passed in silence, the comfortable kind that forms only when hearts begin to trust. Noah tapped the window. It's snowing harder. Outside, flakes whirled sideways, blurring the world in a soft white storm. Claire sighed. The buses might be delayed again. Evan glanced toward the blizzard, then back at them. Where are you headed? To the shelter on 5th, she said. They let us stay there if we arrive early enough. It was nearly a mile away. In this weather, that might as well have been 10. You shouldn't walk that far in the snow, Evan said. Claire offered a tired smile. We'll manage. We always do. Something in her voice, quiet resignation, hit Evan like a cold wave. Let me drive you, he said without hesitation. Claire looked startled. Oh, no. We can't ask that. You didn't ask, Evan replied. I'm offering. She searched his face, trying to decide if he was being kind or just polite. But it wasn't politeness. It was the first time in a year he truly felt pulled toward someone, not out of pity, but purpose. After a long pause, she nodded. Thank you. When they finished eating, Evan helped bundle Noah in his coat and scarf. They stepped outside, and a blast of icy wind hit them instantly. Snowflakes clung to Claire's eyelashes, and Noah's small hand reached instinctively for Evan's. He didn't let go. Evan's car was old but warm. The heater groaned, then hummed to life. Claire relaxed into the seat, exhaustion settling across her shoulders like a blanket finally allowed to fall. Feels like a different world in here, she murmured. They drove slowly through the snowfall. Noah watched the flakes dance in the headlights, his breath fogging the window. Claire kept glancing at Evan when she thought he wasn't looking, grateful, relieved, still a little unsure. Do you have anyone here? Evan asked softly. Claire shook her head. No family left. Just us. Noah leaned forward. Mom says we'll start fresh somewhere better. Your mom sounds smart, Evan said, smiling at him in the rearview mirror. She is, Noah replied proudly. Claire looked away, eyes shining. When they reached the shelter, Claire unbuckled slowly, as if stepping out meant stepping back into a world colder than the storm outside. Evan opened her door for her. Let me walk you in. Inside, the shelter lobby buzzed with voices, children playing, volunteers sorting blankets. A staff worker recognized Claire and waved her over warmly. She turned to Evan. Thank you. For everything. You didn't have to go this far. Evan shook his head. Kindness doesn't have a distance limit. Her throat tightened, but she pushed a smile through it. Noah tugged Evan's sleeve. Will you come back tomorrow? To the café? Evan's heart softened. If you'll sit with me. The boy beamed. Okay. Claire touched Evan's arm gently. I don't know how to repay you. You already did, he said quietly. You reminded me what it feels like to matter to someone again. They stood there for a moment, snow melting off their coats, the storm muffled by the shelter walls. Good night, Evan, Claire said softly. Good night, Claire. Good night, Noah. As he walked back to his car, the snow crunching under his boots, Evan felt something he hadn't felt since losing his wife: purpose, warmth, hope. One small act of kindness had cracked open a door he thought had been sealed forever. And somewhere inside that shelter, a mother and her son were drifting into sleep believing, maybe for the first time in months, that the world still held gentle people. That morning, none of them knew their lives were already entwining in ways that would reshape all three futures. But kindness always begins quietly, like snowfall, soft, unexpected, and capable of changing everything.